I'd like to begin with the introduction to Out of Chaos. When I was looking for a quote to begin the introduction and sum up the theme of this story, the one that resonated was by George Bark. He was an artist that I had never heard of. But surprisingly, it turns out that he, along with Pablo Picasso, developed the Cubism movement. And I really think that he might have been thinking of us when he said, art is a wound turned into light. So the introduction goes on. 25 years ago, as of this writing, the Monroe Art Guild came into being through the interaction of a severe storm, a group of artists, and a supportive community. In the chaos following the storm, the artists and the community synergized to create a lasting organization. The year 2018 saw the enhancement of the Guild's long-term goal to become not only a home to visual art, but to all the arts. Under a new name, Monroe Walton Center for the Arts, the association added Walton writers to the existing art and music guilds. This history celebrates the creative foresight of our founders, our community, and the benefits bestowed upon our society. So I like to think of this little book as a love letter to the city, the community, and especially to our founders. They gave the post office a mission befitting its status and created what would become our dynamic art center. We're very lucky today. We have three of our founders with us. Susan Pelham, who Lois Reichelderfer, and Gloria Potter. It became very obvious that Susan was the leader, and when Susan called, these ladies answered. I mean, to think, prior to 1993, this beautiful building was being used simply to store stolen bicycles, for the occasional civic meetings, like the Boy Scouts. And then after the 1993 storm, as so often happens when faced with adversity, people came together to do something good. And this historic treasure is the result. It really is as if George Bark were talking about the MWCA when he said that art is a wound turned into light. My personal love affair with the MWCA began shortly after Dennis and I, my husband, moved to Oxford in 2011. It wasn't too long after that Dennis found himself walking around in the streets of Monroe, and he came across this interesting building. He saw it was an art guild, and because he loves art, and because his wife is an artist, he went inside. Susan just happened to be filling in for our then director, Brian Hardman, and she charmed Dennis. He picked me up from whatever I was doing, which I think was probably a doctor's appointment, and we came straight back. I was also charmed, and we became members that day. At some point, Susan told me the story about the storm and how Mayor Harry Knight asked her to organize an art show for the Jamboree that the community was setting up to celebrate the town's recovery. When Hope Reese, our director, began planning last spring's Founders Show, it occurred to me that we needed a 2 or 3 page history. Hope said she liked the idea, but then I saw that she had already posted a short history on the MWCA webpage. When I pointed this out, she said she wasn't too sure about it. She had done it in a hurry, and she felt as though it needed verification. So I went to work, and it developed into 20 pages, complete with pictures. By the way, the webpage is mostly correct. The only thing I would question is the reference to hand-blown glass windows, even though I saw where a Walton County magazine actually reported this. The only thing is, because hand-blown glass, window pane was no longer hand-blown at the beginning of the 20th century, I don't think that we have hand-blown glass here. Susan and I began the research right here in the building, going through boxes of pictures that have accumulated since 1993. Susan explained them to me. She identified many of the people, and we found scrapbooks with announcements of the first shows. Then we went through the filing cabinet. Lois gave a presentation in 1996 that detailed the tremendous progress the Art Guild had made in 3 short years. Luckily, she saved her notes, and luckily for me, she was generous enough to share them with me. Her details about the refurbishing of this building gave the story life. In fact, I would like to read a passage that relies very heavily on Lois's notes. By November 1993, the artists held meetings at the old post office in the thick of fallen plaster and broken glass. Some were overwhelmed, but soon those who saw the possibilities won the day. Out came the mops, brooms, and scouring powder. They refurbished the wood flooring, and to cover a section beyond repair, Bill Barnes, an interior decorator, procured new carpeting at a bargain price. The city mended the storm-damaged roof, restored the ceiling, and paid the utilities. Mary Walker, president of the First National Bank, which gave financial support, joined the cleanup effort, shoveling glass alongside the artists. I love the saga of Mary Walker. I think it really demonstrates the remarkable collaboration that happened when the Art Guild originated. The final step was visiting the History Museum and meeting Steve Brown. He provided photos of the destruction that appeared in the Walton Tribune following the storm. He also told me about the Walton Tribune archives available online from the Uncle Remus Regional Library System. It was this collection, along with the comments of our founders, Lois's notes, and the photos taken through the years that shaped the story of history and collaboration that brought about our wonderful art center. So I think I've said enough. I welcome anyone's comments, and would be happy to try and answer any questions if you have any.